It's been 1 year since Arcane, only the best show ever, has been released. And the Arcane writers on this occasion decided to answer some of the fans' questions on Reddit. Christian Lincoln, Alex Lee and Amanda Overton were replying to fans' question posted on Reddit, and I figured it's time to dig out some news, some spoilers when it comes to Season 2. Of course, Season 2's release date is not even announced yet. We haven't received a trailer, a teaser, not even a trailer, teaser, release date. So we're sort of like children in the fog, like we don't know anything. All we can do is look for minor hints. I know that Amanda Overton, Vi and Caitlyn's lead writer, actually did say that she left some hints in that very Reddit that I mentioned before. So I decided to browse through it and look for anything that might suggest what's going to happen in Season 2 when it comes to Caitlyn and Vi's relationship. We know that they're in an awkward position because they were sort of together, but not really. They sort of broke up, but they never really were together. Jinx, of course, is a major obstacle when it comes to them. We don't really know if she would ever accept Caitlyn and Vi's life. We don't know if Vi would give up her relationship with Caitlyn for the sake of being with Jinx. Probably after the ending of Season 1, she wouldn't do that. We also know that there's a major cliffhanger by the end of Season 1, and we don't know what's going to happen, who's going to die. There are some hints, however. Shout out to Beast who noticed that. Arcane writers released this 5-part documentary called Bridging the Rift, and they described the process of how Arcane came to be. They described everything that's been happening ever since they've been working on it, since years ago. How they had to basically rewrite everything because it did not quite fit. There's not too many hints in these documentaries, but there are some. In part 3, there's a moment when they're showing one of the PCs, and if you have a close look at it, you can actually see Caitlyn and her father sitting on a sofa, and her father is wearing a robe. This is definitely not part of Season 1. There was no such scene in Season 1. Caitlyn is holding this cup, perhaps a teacup. Father looks depressed. There are also flowers on the table, lilies or roses. They're white ones. Caitlyn's reading a letter. Now, could this mean that Caitlyn's mother actually died by the end of Season 1, hidden by Jinx's missile? And what does this mean for Caitlyn and Vi if it does happen? Obviously, this doesn't have to mean that Caitlyn's mother dies. This doesn't have to mean that this could be a trap. Obviously, they knew that they're releasing that little detail, and they knew that fans are observant enough to notice that. So they might be tricking us, they might be trying to mislead us into thinking that Caitlyn's mother dies. We know that some characters for sure made it out. It's not possible that Victor or Jinx died. I don't think Mel died either, since she still has unfinished business. Caitlyn's mother is someone that is sort of redundant, but at the same time, she is an interesting character, seemingly cold but supportive of Caitlyn. I'd imagine there'd be still some interesting arcs for her. Obviously, if we are going to get into a major conflict in Season 2, then she'd be playing a big part of it, being a part of the council. Now, going back to the scene with Caitlyn and her father. Yes, he does seem depressed. There are some flowers there, but if you have a look at Caitlyn, she doesn't really seem as sad. Definitely not her mother died type of a sad. It seems like she's supporting her father, but possibly her mother is in the hospital, still alive. Maybe she's trying to be the strong one here. Maybe she's trying to be there for her father. This does mean that something happens to Caitlyn's mother, but does she die? That's something that you'd assume based on this little bit, but it doesn't necessarily have to be so. However, we need to assume that something does happen to her based on these pictures, based on Caitlyn and her father sitting on that sofa with flowers, with some notes. Father who always was elegant, sitting in a robe. Now I'm gonna go back to the Reddit thread. If you could choose a single word to describe Season 2, what would you pick? War. Now I'm gonna jump back to the missile again. If the missile does hit the council, if it's actually the type of a missile that causes harm, if it's not, let's say, a missile that releases some gas or anything other than that, because we don't actually know what substance was inside of the missile and what it's going to cause. Maybe it's not even the type of a missile that was aimed to kill. Maybe it had another purpose. We aren't sure. But let's just assume that that's a missile that's supposed to hit the people, that's supposed to harm people. This would be an open act of war. Things like that, if you have a look at history, they do start wars. To give you an example, assassination of Franz Ferdinand right before World War I started. Any type of aggression like that has its implications, has its consequences, and we have to assume that in season 2, our groups of people, our protagonists, are going to get antagonized. We know that by the end of season 1, Vi was tired and she wanted to act. We know that the Dayz, for a second, also considered war. That type of aggression, that type of missile strike, it can lead certain characters to join a certain side. Caitlyn, like I mentioned before in one of my videos, is a peacemaker. She's a connector between these worlds. She's a healer. Her role is not to antagonize, her role is to make peace, to find a certain path of communication between the upper city Piltover and city of Zorn. Even if her mother dies, even if her mother is injured, I don't think she would ever pick war. I think she's going to continue her job as a part of the enforcers, and based on League of Legends lore, we know that she might even become a sheriff eventually. Based on League of Legends lore, we also know that Vi is supposed to join her, but we know that's not going to happen straight away unless the missile strike makes her join the other side as well. Even more, because she's obviously a bit more on Caitlyn's side anyway by now. She did cross the bridge, literally. So it makes you wonder, if there's going to be a war, where would Caitlyn and Vi land? I'm assuming that Caitlyn is going to land on the path of peace, and I'm assuming Vi might get antagonized even more, and she might request war. This doesn't mean, however, that they're not going to get together. There were some small hints hidden within the thread that might give some idea of where they're heading with Caitlyn and Vi. Here's one. Caitlyn and Vi have been really fun for my wife and I to watch together as a lesbian couple. We really hope we get to see their relationship grow in a new and interesting ways. I'm curious about how the roles as Piltover's finest will differ from how they do in League of Legends. Will Caitlyn still be a sheriff or more of a private eye working independently from the enforcers? Also, what is the likelihood we will see them as official girlfriends next season? Will it be implied or outright stated? Here's the reply. Regarding Vi and Caitlyn, I wish I could say more at this point, but a lot of the answers I'd give you would spoil the experience on screen. I'm confident in the direction we're taking, and I very much want to hear from you once season 2 is out. So far, based on their answers, it just seems like they're taking a risky step, and I think they're going to do something that we might not like, as well as something that we will love. It's not going to be quite simple as them getting together and fighting together as part of the enforcers. And here's why. Hi, do you think Caitlyn and Vi shippers will be happy in the coming season? One of the Riot writers replied, there's that part they might like, and the part they're probably gonna hate. Then Lile104, that's Amanda Overton, Vi and Caitlyn lead writer, added, I take full responsibility for both and stand by that they make the show better. It really does seem like they're going to either break them apart at the very beginning because of that missile strike and then show us their way back together as season 2 moves along, or they're going to sort of get them together straight away, but then due to certain outside circumstances like war, they're going to separate them, and that's the part that we're gonna hate. It's either one or the other. I don't see any other way. I wouldn't expect it to have it the easy way, but I do hope that the direction they're taking, which they say that they're comfortable with, I do hope it's the right one. There's one more tiny hint. Are there gonna be any sex scenes in season 2? Gross. Maybe. They hired me back for season 2, which means there will be sex. I'm the reason it's in season 1. Right, so that's again Amanda Overton. I don't think we're going to watch any more Jason Mel sex scenes any more than we did in season 1, I'm going to assume. I'm fairly certain this is going to be a Caitlyn and Vi one. That's the part that we're gonna love. That's the part where they seemingly are together, but that might change as we move along because there might be war coming. As they announced, that's the main motive of season 2. And then Caitlyn and Vi might fight themselves on opposite sides at one point. However, I do believe that they will find their way back to each other as long as both of them live. That's the one thing I hope none of them die. They're League of Legends main characters, they're not supposed to die, so let's hope for the best and wait for season 2 patiently. I can't wait for any sort of release update. When it does show up, I'm going to post it straight away, and there's also more Arcane theories coming very soon as I got hyped again. Thanks for watching and stay safe, guys. See you soon season. Let me know your predictions for season 2. Let me know if you think that Caitlyn's mother will die. Let me know how that might impact Vi and Caitlyn's relationship. If Caitlyn's mother dies because of Vi's sister, I imagine that might complicate things between them. But maybe she doesn't die. Maybe she's just injured. Maybe there are other reasons that might separate them, or maybe they're not going to get separated for a long time. There's just so many theories going on. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Stay safe, guys. This was Aura from Stop Meow channel. Bye.